Tina Rupercht, guys, has put in a lot of stuff. Now, this is going to be my third topic here today, guys. Tina Rupercht has put in a lot of nerve. Like, her win against Fabiana Batik wasn't a dominated performance she did last year ago. She comes in November, she knocks out Iri Matsuda early in the first round, and Matsuda had her stupidity there. She didn't know better, and even though judges barely had favored for her fights in Fabiana Batik and Iri Matsuda, like, her win for the WBC autumn weight was 97-93 by two judges and 198-92 by another judge. Still a close fight to know that she was in favor, but not a dominator. Just like Iri Matsuda, two judges, 96-93 and 197-92. And I did thought she might have maybe won 5 rounds easily. And now she took on Sumire Yamanaka, and controversial. I'll just let it cool off for another few minutes. But yeah, it's so bad, guys. Now, Sumire Yamanaka, on the other hand, it's different. She's been in this division since 2020. She picks up some wins, decisions against debut fighters, and an undefeated fighter a little bit. She went to Thailand in her 5th professional fight, scored her first knockout. She had a split decision against a journeyman fighter in her country and had an undefeated win in fighter back in September of 2022, picks up a round 5 knockout, wins WBO Asia Pacific title, retains it in April against someone else with a round 3 knockout. And then she took a long break until January. She defeats Mika Iwakawa for the IBF title, and she was going to take on Fabiana Batik that same night in November, but for some reason Fabiana had a health problem, so they canceled it away and just decided to put this fight together. And it's so bad, guys, because the information is so bad. Because, guys, here's the problem. The 3 judges that night were female judges. 2 of them Germany and 1 Belgian, born Ukrainian. And it's bad because this fight takes place in Germany with Tina Rupercht as her home country. And Yamanaka leaves her country of Japan to fight in her country. I had rounds scored differently. Now, my notes were mistakenly different because the first round I did had question thinking Yamanaka won the first round. But looking back at it, by more punches being thrown a little bit, even though Tina Rupercht didn't, she was being the offensive a lot, but it didn't seem like she was taking a lot of punches in the first round, that she was throwing easily clean. But it looked like she might have won the first round, so I switched it to a first round, but it's up to you. Round 2 and round 3 were Yamanaka. Round 4 and 5 were Rupercht. Round 6 and 7 were Yamanaka. Even though Yamanaka did have a close round 7 there. But it's interesting because by round 8, round 9, round 10, Rupercht went all in. And she put in an amazing performance, which I was surprised of. And like I said before, it is interesting because she comes in round 8. Great. Round 9, she was putting in good effort, but early in that round, a right punch landed. Yamanaka lands a good punch on Rupercht. She hits the ground, but the referee called it a slip. I had a 10-8 score for Yamanaka. And the 10th round was pretty interesting, even though Yamanaka was trying to scare off Rupercht, but it wasn't that good, and Rupercht did manage to squeak out a good round 10. So, yeah, it's weird. The Belgian judge had 95 even, fair enough, but I think it would have been a split decision there. 91-99 Rupercht, which I guess if that woman scored round 9 of a 10-9 for Yamanaka, that would have been bad. So let's just say one of the early rounds she scored it, which would have been 97-92 instead. And 95-95 for the third judge, which scored it 96-95, meaning that she gave one of the rounds a 10-10. I'm going to assume that she might have given round 7 or maybe round 2 a close 10-10 round, because those have to be one of the 10-10 rounds. If this judge named Caroline Putz scored it a 10-10 the final round, that's ridiculous. And if they did score it a 10-8 in round 9, if it was a knockout, there was no point if she was going to score a 10-10. She would have just scored a 10-9 for her fighter, Rupercht, and it would have been a 95-94. And if she did score 10-10 in round 10, it would have been a split decision draw for a 95-95. It's that bad. By the way, guys, before I get to my 4th topic, which is my second last topic, I want to get to an information. I found information online, which is interesting because womensboxing.com uh, actually had information. Rupercht wins undisputed Atomweight Championship against Yamanaka, written by Ron Scarfo, April the 10th, 2025, 5 days after the title. He wrote that Rupercht defeated Yamanaka of Japan by majority decision between the top two atomweights for supremacy in the division, holding all the titles live on the broadcast of Germany MDR. And it stinks that they don't have that on YouTube. Just some YouTuber had to upload it, just like the other videos he uploaded. It's bad. 32-year-old Rupercht had more ring experience than Yamanaka. And Yamanaka, 23 years old of age, southpaw fighter, just like Rupercht. She's 4'9.5". Rupercht is 5 feet, so size difference is pretty much there. But even though she's a young girl, and Rupercht, the older you are, the wiser you are. But depending if you're in your 40s, that's a whole different ball game. He also pointed out there were obvious advantages for Rupercht in her fight against Yamanaka, where Rupercht's home country of Germany and 2 of their 3 judges were from Germany, who had recent experiences of fighting and winning against Matsuda, who is still one of the best atomweights of the world. Yamanaka had been inactive for over a year and a few months. More than a year, then their one advantage for Yamanaka was that they probably negotiated beforehand when she was supposed to take on Fabiana Batik, but didn't happen. But he also stated that they were both wearing winning gloves, both brands, made in Japan, which is kind of weird. And he even pointed out how Rupercht sparred and trained with the winning gloves to get used to them in preparation for the fight. That's interesting. Interesting. And the third and final thing he pointed out was that the Belgian judge, Alina, was the only judge not from Germany, with both Caroline and Suzanne Kopke were the 2 judges from Germany. Yamanaka wore red gloves, and Rupercht won the blue winning gloves. Rupercht built an early lead and arguably winning the first 4 rounds. Nah. The tide turned in the 5th round for Yamanaka and probably won 5 and 6 and 7. Yamanaka appeared to win the 9th round, where Yamanaka landed a punch to the head of Rupercht, who then fell to the canvas, but the referee called it a slip. Round 8 and round 10 were rounds close enough. Round 8 would have been a round for Rupercht, and the 10th and final round was for Yamanaka. Even though he said it was a very close round, which, yeah, it was, but I thought Rupercht won the round. But I officially scored it in favor of Yamanaka on my official scorecard, for Rupercht winning round 1 to 4 and 8, and Yamanaka had round 5 to 7, 9 to 10. Therefore, each boxer won 5 rounds, an unofficial scorecard, and scored it 95 even. Yeah, so I scored it round 1. I did change it to Rupercht winning round 1, won round 4, and I did say that she did have round 5 and round 10. The thing is, Yamanaka had round 2 and round 3 easily, even round 6 and round 7. I don't think Yamanaka won round 5. I just didn't see that, even though he said he saw that. But round 10, yeah, it was a close round. But yet again, Rupercht might have won that round. And you should think Yamanaka won the round. That's up to debate. So I could say that, but it was a lot of pushing around in that round. Round 9 definitely should have been a 10-8 round, and round 8. So we both had half-decent rounds, but can't say much about that. Excuse me for a second. Hope these are cooled off. Perfect. So yeah, that's pretty interesting for him to say that. But this is what he also said in the second topic. He said The total judges scored 99 to 91, 96 to 95, 95 even in favor of a Rupercht win majority decision. Rupercht improves her winning record to 15-1-1 in 3 knockouts, whereas Yamanaka gets her first defeat by 8-1, 3 knockouts. Susan Kopke scored at 99 to 91, which is an absurd and a ridiculous score, where Alina from Belgium scored at 95 even, which is a score I had in total. Me too, but I had 95 to 94. Caroline Putes had it 96 to 95, which was likely scored by one of the rounds as a 10-10 for a tie. I believe that Putes scored the 10th and final round even, where judges do not often do that. Even in Germany, they don't do that, appear to not be able to decide who won the round. It is allowed to be used, but only used rarely. However, judges in Germany have been known to score rounds as ties when it is beneficial for a German boxer fighting a boxer who is not in Germany. I do not know if that is the case here. On my official scorecard, I would have scored it 96 to 95. No, I wouldn't. I would have scored it 95 to 95 if that was the case. And that would have been the stupidest thing for a German judge to do that if the knockout in round 9 was a fact. You would have just scored it 10-9 to cheat out Rupercht if this guy did think that round 10 was his favor. That still didn't make sense. I don't believe a word he said, because if it's true that it would have been that close, and let's just say that Yamanaka won 4 rounds after 9 rounds and the knockout round was a thing, and even if he did think Yamanaka won the round, which I thought Rupercht won the round, Putes would have still scored, might have scored it a 10-9 just to rob Yamanaka, or even not even give them win in the first place. It's that stupid. Still, he still said, if I scored the 10th round a 10-10 instead of a 10-9 in favor of Yamanaka, this is one reason I believe Putes scored the 10th round, but it is a very close round. To be honest, guys, like I said before, I think round 2 or round 7 were 2 close rounds that I thought might have been a 10-10, so she might have scored one of those 10-10s early in the fight. I just don't see a 10-10. I just don't see a 10-10 scored in the 10th round. He also said in the last article, congratulations to Rupercht for becoming an undisputed Umberweight championship. Boo, she sucks. Regardless of the judges' scores of the fight, for an example of this fight was a great example for women's boxing can be at the highest level. However, it has to be more equatable if one of the judges was from Japan and the other was from Germany instead of 2 judges from Germany. True. Yamanaka appears to have a bright future, especially at the age of 23. She has more time to improve, and the atomweight division still has talented boxers besides of Rupercht and Yamanaka and Matsuda. For instance, Naoya Ogawa of Japan is a 6-0 undefeated contender who holds the WBO Asia Pacific Atomweight Championship, as Nidy Rodriguez Olmos from Mexico is an undefeated contender who holds the WBC Silver Atomweight title. End quote. Yeah, here's my thing. I really want to see a rematch of these two, only this time in Japan. And if Rupercht does not offer a rematch, but if they do offer a rematch in Germany again, it's just going to make German people more of a hateful relationship in boxing. They're just going to be more hated in the country of the world and treat Japanese girls as sex slaves of hell, being part of AV porn star actresses. It's that terrible when you treat them like that. And so I just hope we get to see a fight in Japan and not in Germany, because I really want to see Rupercht to see if she has what it takes to fight again. Yeah, she lost in America against Denise Estrada, and she's only comfortable in her country. Hey, Yamanaka and Iri Matsuda had the balls to go to her country, and they put in amazing performances, winning rounds after rounds. Even if they lost against Rupercht in her country, they still deserve a rematch. Even if it's Iri Matsuda or Sumire Yamanaka, I want to see one of them have another match with Tina Rupercht again. Or even if Naoya Ogawa fights, I want to see in Japan. And if they decide to go to Germany again and have it to fight with Rupercht, it's just going to make her a duck, and it's just so hateful. I just don't like it. I disapprove of this. So that's all I have to say about that, and I just hope Rupercht does not do that. And I hope she doesn't vacate the titles, because I don't want to wait several years for them to have a unified boxer in Japan for female boxing and then just destroy it for having another non-Japanese person to win a title again like Tina Rupercht. It's that bad.